Behind the polished gates of Buckingham Palace, a discovery was made that reignited old rivalries and stirred emotions long buried. Catherine, Princess of Wales, had been granted rare access to some of Diana's personal belongings. Among gowns and cherished photographs, her eyes fell on a small wooden box, tucked away with deliberate care. When she lifted the lid, she found more than glittering jewels. She unearthed a legacy, one filled with whispers of devotion, betrayal, and power. Each jewel spoke of Diana's enduring spirit, connecting Catherine to a woman who, decades later, still captivates hearts. But this moment of quiet remembrance would not remain private. Within the palace, it sparked unease, reopening old wounds and casting long shadows over Queen Camilla. What Catherine uncovered was no ordinary treasure. It was the spark that reignited a rivalry the monarchy had hoped was buried forever. The room around her seemed to fall still as Catherine examined the jewels. A necklace she had only ever seen in photographs now rested in her hands. Its weight felt heavier than gold. It carried the memory of a woman whose grace and defiance reshaped the crown. These were not simple ornaments. They were pieces of Diana's story, fragments of a life that ended far too soon, yet continues to echo through her children and through the public that still mourns her. To Catherine, the jewels were bridges to William's mother, connections no scandal or time could erase. But inside the palace, remembrance is rarely just remembrance. To wear Diana's jewels would mean to carry her legacy into the present, and with it awaken comparisons that had the power to wound. Whispers of the discovery moved swiftly through the palace corridors, carried by staff and aides, until they reached Camilla's ears. For Catherine, the jewellery was memory. For Camilla, it was a haunting reminder that Diana's shadow still lingered. Camilla had spent decades reshaping her public image, fighting to move past the role of the other woman, and finally achieving the title of Queen Consort. Yet Diana's name remained immortal, bound to the monarchy with unshakable devotion. The thought of Catherine, young, adored, and now in possession of Diana's most iconic jewels, threatened to undo years of work. For Camilla, the jewels weren't gems. They were daggers.
Piece by piece, Catherine explored the contents of the box. A bracelet that had been with Diana on hospital visits, sapphire earrings that matched her iconic engagement ring, a tiara worn at countless state events. Each jewel was like a page in a diary, carrying stories of triumph, struggle, and heartbreak. And then came the ring. Not her famous engagement ring, but another sapphire gifted during one of Charles and Diana's brief reconciliations. To the public, it was dazzling. To Diana, it had been a symbol of hope that quickly turned to disillusionment. Catherine held it gently, sensing the weight of its story, a story of promises made and broken. She realized at once the power it carried. Worn in public, it would symbolize Diana's unending legacy, living on through her son's wife. But it would also drive a wedge, reopening wounds Camilla had worked tirelessly to close. By the time word of the sapphire reached Camilla, her composure cracked. Publicly, she remained calm, smiling through engagements and maintaining her poise. But behind palace doors, those closest to her saw the strain, the clenched jaw, the tightened voice whenever Diana's name was spoken. She had endured decades of criticism, eventually climbing from scandal to acceptance. Yet with every jewel Catherine uncovered, it became clear comparisons to Diana would never fade, and comparisons were a battle Camilla could never win. Catherine never sought competition. To her, the jewels were tributes, memories she hoped to preserve for William and for their children. But in the court of public opinion, perception rules over intention. To the people Catherine adorned in Diana's jewels would not simply be the Princess of Wales, she would be seen as Diana's heir, a continuation of the story that ended too soon. For Camilla, it was unbearable.
Every photograph, every headline, every whisper of admiration toward Catherine felt like another step backward into the shadows. History, it seemed, was determined to remember her not as queen, but as Diana's rival. When Catherine showed the jewellery to William, emotion overtook him. For him, these were not symbols of power or rivalry, but fragments of a mother he still longed for. Holding them was like holding pieces of her life, tangible reminders of her love and compassion. Yet William knew the storm that would follow. He saw how the jewels stirred old insecurities within his father's wife, and how easily comparisons could split the family once more. But to him, honouring his mother was worth the risk. He vowed Diana's memory would never be silenced, and through Catherine it would live on. When Catherine first wore Diana's sapphire earrings at a public charity event, the reaction was immediate. Photographers captured the moment, and within hours, headlines praised her as the embodiment of Diana's grace. To the people, it was as though the spirit of the beloved princess had returned. Catherine's quiet elegance only deepened the connection. She wasn't just admired as the Princess of Wales, she was celebrated as the living continuation of Diana's legacy. William felt pride, knowing his mother's spirit shone through. But for Camilla, the sight was torment. Each appearance was another reminder that her throne could not erase Diana's crown in the hearts of the people. At a private gathering, Catherine appeared wearing one of Diana's sapphire necklaces. Conversations hushed, admiration filled the room, and whispers compared her glow to Diana's. Camilla's smile remained, but her fury was undeniable. Behind closed doors, her restraint shattered. Years of acceptance she had fought for seemed to vanish with a single necklace. Her anger was not just jealousy, it was fear. Fear of being erased, of becoming a footnote in a story where Diana still reigned supreme. The jewellery box Catherine opened was never just about gems. It became a battlefield. To Catherine, it was remembrance. To William, it was a bridge to his mother. But to Camilla, it was torment. A reminder that no crown, no title could ever outshine the memory of Diana. The jewels told the story of love and loss, of rivalry and devotion, of a monarchy bound forever to its past. And as the world watches, one truth remains clear. Thrones may shift, crowns may change, but Diana's spirit remains unshakable. How will this discovery shape the royal family's future? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more untold royal stories.